Hello and welcome to another video. This one we're gonna focus on organizing our file. I'm a big believer in just organizing everything and making it easier for you down the line. And even though this is really boring, it's boring to film, it's boring to watch. It's stuff we need to. It's work that if we do right now, later it'll save us a bunch of time. So the first thing I'm doing is, if you notice, all of these are different meshes, and we don't really need that. We could just kind of all join them together. So to join multiple meshes together, just press Control J, and then that will merge them all into one item. And if you forget any, like for example, here I'm just kind of doing it like the body, right? Or the car paint. And I kind of forgot the hood, so I'm just gonna select the hood and select the body again, and then and press Control J, and then that there it'll merge everything together. Just remember to think about what you're going to animate, what's going to be easier for you to sort of have in a group or in just one item. So now let's say that you forgot to mirror something, and you know there's no real point in sort of going all the way back to your CAD program and reteslating the other side if it's just a complete mirror. All you have to do is go to your properties, and then under your modifiers you click on that, and then you click add modifier, and then there you will find mirror. And then on the axis, as you see here, it's on the right now it's on the X axis. So all I gotta do is uncheck the X and check the Z, and then that gives me the mirror to the other side. This way it's a quick way to sort of just mirror anything that I forgot to mirror or anything like that. It's also better for the file. The more stuff you mirror, the less the smaller your file is going to be. So now we need to start talking about collections. You could think of collections as a way to sort of organize your file. If you see here, I have a bunch of different objects, and you know, once your file starts getting big, you start adding an environment, it's going to be very difficult to sort of find anything, you know? So that's what the collections is all about. It isn't a group, it's just more of like a layer. So the first thing you need to do is select everything you want to make into a collection. So here, the first thing I'm going to do is put all my these little wheel elements into a collection. And you press M, and then you click New Collection, and then call your collection whatever you want. This one I'm just going to call it Wheel. And then now I have a collection that has this wheel. So if we look here, we could see that everything's there. And then if I hide it, it's easy to see. You know, it's easy to sort of see the rest of the file. And obviously I forgot to select these, so all I'm going to do is select them, press M again, and then I'm going to add it to the same wheel collection. So press M, and then there, see, you can see the collections up there, wheel 1, and then there. Now all that wheel is inside that collection, and it's making my life a lot easier to see and organize the whole data set. Now I'm gonna add all the body parts into its own collection too, just to make my life easier. Obviously, you could break it down into even more collections, whatever you want. But the important part about these collections, and you'll see right now how I organize them, is that what I do is I have a file. Once we set up all the materials and all that, I have this file, you know, with Electra. And anytime I set up another environment or I want to add Electra into anything, all I have to do is go into File, Append, and then I could choose my Electra collection, and then it'll just all that will merge into whatever file I'm using, you know. So that's why I'm putting the wheels under Electra, and now everything is going to be a lot easier for me way down the line once I have this file nice and prepped. And I can use it for later. That's what I always do with any software I'm using. I always have just one file where it's just the car. Everything's all organized and grouped up how I want it to be, and then it's a lot easier for me to use it. So one of the things you can already start using the collections for is basically to select all the objects. So you right click on the collection and you press select object, and now I'm going to duplicate this object, Shift D, and then when you're duplicating an object, when you're moving an object, if you press Y, it'll go into the Y axis, and if you press X, it'll just like stay locked into the X axis. So if you're moving anything around and you want it locked into an axis, just press the letter it corresponds to. So even though I duplicated it, it didn't duplicate it just put all the duplicates into the same collection. So since this is a different wheel, I'm gonna press M, and make it into a new collection. This way it keeps everything nice and separate, and I'm already like, even more organizing my file. So using this workflow, it makes it really easy to sort of select all the items with the collections and also move them around. I don't know if I showed you guys before, but to move, you just press G, and then you place it wherever you want. And obviously, you could lock it to the axis. And then if you want to sort of scale it, because these rear wheels are bigger than the front, I just press S, and then I scale it. And right now my pivot is already in the correct position, but I'm gonna show you guys how to parent and how to change the pivots and all that in the next scene. So if you see here, my wheel collections are under Electra, and I have another one, but then everything else is sort of not grouped up. So I'm gonna put those in another collection and then just call it something like car body, just so that it's easier for me to hide and unhide and select. So car body, and so now all that stuff is in its own collection, and obviously I have to remember to drag it into the Electra collection, right? So now it's easy for me to hide the wheels and keep the body and all that, right? Because I want to focus on parenting the body and parenting the wheels separately. So this really helps me just keep everything nice and organized. So the first thing we need to do is actually add what's called in many programs it's called a locator, and inside of Blender it's called an axis. So press Shift A, and under empty, go plain axis. And so this it's just basically a point in space. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to parent everything. So I'm going to right click on the car body, select objects, and I'm going to double click on that empty so that I can parent it. And then you press Control P and then select parent to object. So this actually makes that locator or that empty into the actual parent. So I'm going to change this name to car body locator. And so now all that is parented onto is a child of this thing. So once I move that there, now everything is basically grouped up. In other 3D software, it basically does all that automatically. But inside of a Blender, it's a little more. It takes like one more step to do all that. So now I'm gonna do the same thing, but for the wheels. So let's say you added this wheel in, and when you select the object, its center is based off the world center. So as you can see here, once I rotate it around, it's rotated around the world center. So what I want to do is actually make it rotate around its center point, right? So I'm gonna find something that I know is the perfect rotation, and I'm gonna use that to find the center of it. So I'm gonna press Tab to go into edit mode. And then I'm going to press A to make sure that everything is selected. And then I'm going to press Shift S and go to cursor to selected. And that's going to give me the middle of all of those polygons. And then that 3D cursor, what that is anytime you create something, it's going to be created on the 3D cursor. So now that I moved the 3D cursor there, now I'm going to add an axis into this file. Another one. It's kind of like what we did with the car body. So press Shift A, empty, and axis. Now I'm going to use the collection to select the objects again, and I know that my empty is in there, so select objects, and then I'm going to click on my empty twice just to make sure it's the last one. And again, like the last time, Control P, parent, and then now I just parented that wheel onto that axis. And I'm going to change it to like wheel locator. So this is basically how I parent things inside of Blender, with these sort of locators everywhere to make my life really easy once I want to, once I'm setting up the render and I want to rotate the wheels or change the direction of the car. It's all very easy. But this wheel isn't parented yet to the Electra. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to parent one locator to the other. So remember, you always have to select the child first and then the parent. So select whatever you want to parent to, and then press Control P, and then parent to object, and then see now everything is grouped up. One last thing before we move away from the wheel is that its pivot points, they're not located in the same center as the axis, which is really not that big a deal, but you know there might be reasons why you want the pivot point in the same location. So select all of the ones that you want to change it to, and you go to Object Edit and set origin to 3D cursor. And remember, my 3D cursor is still set up into the middle of that geometry. So now now the locator and the pivot point is all in the same location. So if I want to individually rotate some of the geometry, everything is all nice and in line. And it makes everything, it's just another like sort of layer of cleaning everything up and making everything more less problems down the line. So let's say we want to do the other side of this wheel, right? For the first thing we need to copy is the y-axis. We need to see where, you know, we're going to have to do the opposite of that. So let's control copy that number. And then now we just need to shift duplicate, right? So the easiest way to do that is you right click on this on the locator and press select hierarchy. And then that will select everything. And then you press shift D. And then that's going to make a duplicate of everything, including the locator, which is parented and all that, right? Now we're going to make sure it's only on the y-axis, so press Y. And we could just place it anywhere you want because we're going to change that number anyways. So click to place it, and then go back to your Y, and then paste the number, and then remember to change from negative to positive. And then that makes it in the right position. And now the last thing we need to do is rotate it 180 degrees off the Z axis. So go to Z and go negative 180. You could also go positive 180, it would be the same thing. So now we actually have the other side, and the other side has the same parent and the locator, and the letters aren't flipped over, because obviously you could also use a mirror in this case. But when you use a mirror, it flips over the letters, and which is not that good. So this is a quick way to start adding both sides of the wheels, and everything is parented and everything is good. And so yeah, now the only thing left in terms of this section for me personally is just to do the rear, and you know, kind of do the same thing I did last time. And there we go. Now I have everything located. If we look into my groupings, everything is nice and clean. It's easy for me to read and look at and move around. And now we're gonna focus on all the good, making it look very pretty. Now I kind of did all the hard work, all the organizing, and yeah. So now we're gonna now the next video will be on visualizing this, adding the paint, adding the HDRI, moving the camera around, all that good stuff, all the fun stuff. So thank you for watching, and I hope you guys enjoyed this. And I know it's boring, but it's very important, and it saves you a lot of time down the line. Okay, all right, thanks, bye.